fire, Wilds. I'm expecting fire from Kyrie Irving. All right, nothing less. Now, not 39 points, but I'm talking about 27 points, close to 50% shooting, if not 50% shooting, like a really nice, strong game. I don't think you'll have to be, Superman like he was in game one, because I know Kevin Durant's going to play a lot better. I'll get to that later. But yeah, I'm expecting Kyrie Irving to come out and have a strong game. I told you guys last week, he's a contrarian, all right? He goes against the grain. I believe he is fueled by this hostility. And yeah, even though he denied it, why he denied it, it was hostile to Nick Friedel of ESPN in the press conference. Because he's a contrarian. And you said it was hostile, and I'm saying it's not, just because. It clearly was hostile, and he clearly loves it. All right? He's had 39 points, Wilds, in his last 2 playoff games in Boston. This year, went for 60, went for 50, went for 43 in games. All of them on the road. He shot 47% on the road, 44% at home. He averaged more points per game on the road than at home. Why? Because Kyrie, they don't like him on the road. They love him if he was their player, but they love to root against him, tease him, mock him for all the things that he does off the court. And he eats it up, Nick. And now it's not only the Celtics faithful, it's the entire New England area, because in Fenway Park, the last 2 Red Sox games, they have chanted, bleep Kyrie. Bleep Kyrie. They've been chanting that at baseball games. So, Boston, you are in for it tonight. Kyrie Irving's coming there, Nick, and he's going to get busy.
Well, I'm glad you brought up baseball, because I expect Kyrie's field goal percentage to look like the batting average of a great player. Like, oh, my God, he hit 375? Because the reason Kyrie's road numbers are so much better is not because he was inspired by road crowds. It's because they are skewed by the time of the season when he was only playing road games and he was the most rested player on the court at all times. Fact of the matter is this: Kyrie Irving hasn't had consecutive excellent games without a week between them, or nearly a week between them, since last season. Since the end of last regular season into the last year's playoffs. So I agree with you that I expect KD to have a bounce-back game. And if KD doesn't have a bounce-back game, then we're going to have to start wondering, has the fact that Steve Nash has played him 40 minutes per game since the start of March, and he's asking him to guard Jason Tatum, is it taking too much of a wear and tear on him, too much of a toll on him? But I expect KD to be excellent. But, Wilds, I do not think Kyrie will be efficient tonight. I do not think Kyrie will come close to 50% shooting, as Broussard said. I think Kyrie, I think he's got a 11 of 28 just waiting for him. And it does 100%. One of Broussard's best Nets points, I thought, was they have a Batman with a Robin mentality and a Robin with a Batman mentality. I think Kyrie's going to go into this game with a Thanos mentality, and I don't think it's going to work well for him. I don't think he's got the Infinity Stones. I think this is a bad. I just don't expect a good Kyrie game, Wilds.
So, bro, I think that Kyrie's going to go in there and want to torch all of Boston. He wants to prove to everybody, he's like, I'm going to do it. You know what would be the worst thing for this show? If before we got on air, I'm like, guys, I'm going to dominate today. I'm gonna dominate this show. I'm gonna be great this show. Both you and Nick's be like, why don't we just move the ball a little bit, Wilds? Facilitate. We all get our shots. Like, no. I heard everybody's talking trash about me. It's my time to shine. It would be bad. And we look at the last play. I would like you to look at this through a different lens, because you said that Kyrie was thinking me or KD. Man, I don't know. That double team is there a few times, and he's not thinking about KD. This is not Jordan, Steve Kerr on the bench in The Last Dance. Like, all right, I'm going to be doubled. You're going to be ready? That's not what it was. So my question to you is, are you worried that Kyrie's sort of a goal to shut the Boston faithful up might backfire and he might do a little too much at the expense of KD?
I'm not, because I think ultimately, as much as Kyrie wants to shut the fans up in Boston, how does he do that? With a W. I mean, he just scored 39 points. No. And all but that last play, and I didn't like that last play. It was hero ball, whether he's thinking me or KD or just me, myself. Outside of that play, he was phenomenal. There's nothing more he really could have done. What do you have, 18 in the fourth quarter, something like that? He was huge, all right? I don't know if he had that many, but he was big late. He was big the entire game, and it didn't matter because they lost. And so I think he's smart enough to understand we have to get KD going as well. And we know they're buddies. They talk. And Nick, Kevin Durant, you talk about Kyrie not having great back-to-back games and all that stuff. Well, Kevin Durant doesn't have bad back-to-back games. You can go back all the way to 2019. Since the 2019 playoffs, check this graphic out. After a loss in the playoffs, Kevin Durant goes berserk. Basically 40 points a game on 54% shooting in 8 games that he's played after a playoff loss. Kevin Durant has as much pride as anybody. He's all about being efficient, being skilled, all that stuff. And he was none of that in game 1. So I think he's going to come out with a huge game, and I think his buddy, Kyrie, wants to help him have a great game. Now, we know Kyrie's a 2-guard. I mean, we call him a point all we want. He's really a 2-guard. And so I think whilst he can score and facilitate to some degree and make sure KD gets his.
No. I think KD is, I want to be very clear here. I totally agree with you on that. KD, I do not expect him to have a mediocre or a bad game. What I raised was, if he does, because it's so, and I think you'll agree with me here, Brew, because it is so incredibly rare for him to have consecutive bad playoff games, if he does have a bad game, I think it would be fair to question, did the fact that he was playing 40 minutes every single night for the 2 months leading into the playoffs wear him down a bit? Because it would be such an outlier. And in this series, I mean, one of the reasons they are holding on to this ludicrous hope that Ben Simmons might come back is they are asking Kevin Durant, whenever possible, to guard Jason Tatum. I mean, he has a very, very difficult task, and I expect Durant to answer the bell tonight, Wilds. But what I also expect tonight is what we're going to see is Durant's excellent, Kyrie's mediocre, the Nets role players are hit and miss, and they fall down 2-0. And once again, we're like, but if they do, they're still scary, and if they get Ben back, I just think there is so much more consistency and stability with the Celtics. I don't feel like the Celtics have to have Jason Tatum go off tonight. I feel like the Nets have to have, Wilds, Kevin Durant go off tonight.
That's right.
That if Kevin Durant scores 24 points tonight, I don't think the Nets have any chance whatsoever.
I think that's an excellent point. I don't know how tired he's going to be. I feel like he can ratchet it up, but I want to get your take on this KD sound. He was asked about the Celtics fans and how they were treating Kyrie and the relationships between fan and sport. I thought it was fascinating. I want your take on it. Let's play the sound.
It's rooted in love. They once loved you. They once cheered for you, and bought your merchandise. Had life-altering experiences coming to games, watching you play. So when it kind of gets ripped from them from just something like a trade or demanding a trade or wanting to leave, they feel like a piece of them is gone too, So there's an emotional attachment that they have to professional sports, and like you said, that's a gift and a curse of having a team in your city where you grew up. But that shows that people care and people have emotions and people really respect and admire who we are as individuals. Sometimes it gets a little dark and deep, but that's just how the human brain works. So we understand all of that.
All right, well, that's KD at his absolute best off the court as far as, sometimes he's super introspective and interesting. And, Brew, Wilds and I had the same reaction to this. I'm curious yours. He was asked about Kyrie, but he's talking about himself. Because KD has left 2 places that legitimately had amazing memories with him. Oklahoma City, obviously, and then Golden State, obviously. Golden State fans haven't been super hostile towards him, but OKC fans were. Kyrie Irving did not deliver the Celtics great moments. There are not a lot of Celtic fans that are like, oh my God, those two magical Kyrie Irving playoff runs. The one he sat out and the other one where he flamed out. So I don't think the dislike for Kyrie from Celtic fans is about we loved what we had. I think it's about actual dislike for what he did while he was there and how he left.
Well, first, I think you're right about K. That was a very insightful comment. And I thought his comment about Ben Simmons, too, earlier, a week ago, it's best for me not to consider him coming back.
Yep.
So I think KD has been great lately in terms of his quotes. I think KD, he's talking about himself, but also Kyrie, because, look, I don't doubt that the Celtics are better off without Kyrie. Right? Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown may not have been able to come into their own, certainly not to this degree, with Kyrie there. But I do think, Nick, that Boston fans, for all that he brought, they wanted him back. They wanted him back. Even though they flamed out against Milwaukee, I still think they would have taken Kyrie back if he had wanted to stay. So you're right, it was rocky, but he's so talented that I still